All right, look at this one. This is kind of interesting, right? I know you're like, well, Eric, I can't read it. Well, let me read it for you. The impossible fire walking, levitation, glass eating, and mind reading. How do they do it? Is it a fake sideshow stunts of the carnival, impossible magic of the Orient? Describe and explain so you can So you can do them too if you dare. So we can levitate, eat glass, and be on fire, and we can read people's minds. All right. Whoa, these are little words. Well, these are pretty, like, almost vicious, man. Look. Like the titles, indestructible, lie down with the wild beast, through the flames, a bellyful, at liberty in the alien element. Like, what? Right? So let's do indestructible, 31. I want to be indestructible. Indestructible, the amazing massagists. I don't know. There, you can look at it. Okay, a dozen men in street clothes enter the armory and gather at one end of the vast building. One member of their group carries a high-powered rifle. Up on the balcony at the other end, two idlers in National Guard uniforms watch curiously. They can hear only muffled conversation, see only the anonymous figures moving about restlessly. Suddenly, one man detaches himself from the rest, walks to the concrete wall a few yards away, and turns to face the others. He has a small white saucer in his hands. The group rearranges itself quickly, clearing a space for the man with the rifle. He raises his weapon, takes aim at the man against the wall, and fires. The human target shatters back, but does not fall. He bares his teeth, showing something between them, which he spits out onto the saucer. It lands with a dull click, a bullet. He rejoins the others, smiling triumphantly, and they all move to the door and disappear, leaving the young guardsmen to stare at one another in dumbfounded amazement. What have they just seen in the famous bullet catch of modern stage magic? Nowadays, it's rarely performed, and usually with only a few observers and reporters present, as in this case, when publicity was needed for a convention of magicians in the West Coast city. The bullet catch is not performed often for good reason. It is extremely dangerous and has proven fatal to more than one magician. Yeah, I would say so, right? One evening in 1918 in London, a variety theater, Billy Robinson, the pretended Chinese magician Chung Ling Su, was performing the bullet catch with a breech-loading double-barreled rifle, and was shot dead. Obviously, I mean, I wouldn't even want to try this one. There are a number of other modern stage illusions that pose the threat of mutilation and death, and all of them can be dangerous. Ladies are sawed in half with guillotine, magicians are locked in cabinets, and swords are thrust through from all sides. Lovely girls are seemingly crushed or pinned down by spiked boards. On the platforms of circus and carnival sideshows, human pin cushions blithely drive hat pins through their cheeks, climb ladders of swords, and sew auxiliary buttons to their bellies. Captain Dynamite blows himself up. These horrendous entertainments have their parallels in modern primitive societies, but the self-torture is usually feverishly sincere and the danger more often genuine. In the high mountains of Tibet, at the roof of the world, the ascetic Respas sit naked in the sub-zero cold for 24 hours or more. Why? In Australia, young initiates knock their own teeth out. Okay. In South Africa, an old bushman solemnly saws off a finger joint. What? In Siberia, a shaman goes into a trance and flails himself with thorns. In India, a fakir studies the tip of his nose. What? Tip of his nose with a spike is driven firmly into his skull. What? Where did this book? This book took like a left turn real fast, didn't it? Self-mutilation and self-torture have always been a means of reaching the gods, and man has invariably selected as his holy man and priest intermediary the individual who was most willing to punish himself in order to prove his faith and influence his spirits. Herodotus, all right, speaks of the Egyptian priests beating themselves at the feast of Isis. And so many as there are of the Carians dwelling in Egypt do this even more than the Egyptians themselves, inasmuch as they cut their foreheads also with knives. For centuries, the Japanese Shinto priests have been heartily abusing themselves in ancient ordeals. The kugadachi, in which they pour boiling water over their bodies. What? The hiwatari, or fire walk, to be taken up in chapter 5. All right, so, chapter 5, get ready. And the Surgoji Watari involves climbing a ladder of swords. The shamans of most American Indian tribes practice self-mutilation, and torture was often a part of initiation ceremonies. In the 13th century, an hysterical desire for the remission of sin caused a flagrant mania to sweep France, following a severe outbreak of the plague. Thousands of people donned scanty robes painted with the outlines of skeletons and joined the dance of death. All right. Frenzied, lashing themselves and one another with thorn whips, the ultimate act of religious mortification, as it was practiced in India, described by Marco Polo. We're out of time. However, I almost want to read a little bit more. What did Marco Polo say? Okay. Marco Polo said this, and then we got to go. But let me tell you first, if you can find this book on Amazon, I will have, well, if I can find it on Amazon, I will have it there for you. So just push the button and go. I don't know if I have time to really dive deep into the weird, crazy things that we do to ourselves. And my goodness, probably what we do to other people is more. I thought this was a little bit about magic, but we went from like talking about magic to way over here, right? So if you want to know like how far he's going that away, then please click buy the Amazon book and tell me what happens, all right? But let's see what Marco Polo says. When a man is guilty of a capital offense and the king has decreed his death, the defender declares that he wishes to kill himself out of respect and devotion to some particular idol. He takes a knife and cries in a loud voice, "I kill myself for love of such and such an idol." Having spoken these words, he takes 2 swords and thrusts them into his thighs, then 2 into his arms and 2 into his belly. My goodness, he's strong. I wouldn't be able to thrust all these things into me. 2 into his chest, then grasping a 2-handled knife, he sets it against his nape, gives it a mighty pull, and severs his own neck because the knife is exceedingly sharp. After he has killed himself, his kinfolk cremate the body amidst great rejoicing. Whoa! Wow! Just imagine that. First off, I'm impressed, right? He has like 8 different swords rather. So you got wham, wham, ha. And then you're dead. I don't know how he was able to do all that because, 2 in my leg, I'm screaming. 2 in my arms, I'm barely able to move them. 2 in my gut, come on. In my chest, how did you even have the energy to cut your head off? I think Marco Polo's might be exaggerating just a little bit, but even if that was the truth, man, you have got to have belief, because that is, whoa. So again, if you want to know more craziness, click the button, buy it off of Amazon, and please, please tell me more stories about this. I'm very intrigued. This is crazy, right? Right? It's nuts. All right, see you later.